Welcome to the Global Republic, a podcast about the forgotten conversations that made modernity possible. I'm Leland Masters. In our last episode, we explored how Enlightenment Europe learned to read Arabic, not to dominate, but to understand. We saw Marachi and Akli, Rizka and Jefferson curious, cautious, humble, engaging with the Islamic world not as a threat, but as a source. Today we turn further east, because before there was Florence, there was Samarkand. Before Descartes, Avicenna. Before Oxford's libraries, there was the House of Wisdom, and behind it, a caravan of thinkers from Balkh, Merv, and Bukhara. This is the story S. Frederick Starr tells in Lost Enlightenment, the rise and disappearance of Central Asia's golden age. A lot of people know that algebra was invented in Baghdad. What they don't know is that it was invented by Khwarazmi. His name is where we get the word algorithm from, and he was from Central Asia. This is episode 2, The Republic Before Europe. S. Frederick Starr doesn't start with a thesis, he starts with a longing for a time when cities now in the map's margins, Balkh, Samarkand, Gurganj, were the center of the intellectual world. From the 8th to the 13th century, this region didn't just copy Greek knowledge, it transformed it. The scholars wrote in Arabic, yes, but they were Persians, Sogdians, Turks, and they weren't preserving wisdom, they were questioning it. In 999, two minds, Abu Rayhan al-Biruni and the young Ibn Sina, Avicenna, began a correspondence that reads like a 10th century TED Talk. They asked whether the earth had evolved, whether multiple worlds could exist, and whether reason alone could reach truth without revelation. Biruni pushed, Avicenna hesitated. They debated not from dogma but from shared method. Avicenna even admitted he would defer to experts in other disciplines, a rare moment of intellectual humility, pointing towards what we call now peer review. What Starr argues here is striking. This wasn't medieval scholasticism, it was scientific revolution. Kuhnian before Kuhn. Biruni more than anyone stands apart. He used math and geodesy to theorize the existence of an undiscovered continent, what would become the Americas. Yes, that's right. Abu Rayhan al-Biruni, in the 10th century, discovered America using math. He wrote about evolution, of civilizational collapse from resource scarcity, centuries before Malthus or ecology. And yet this world wasn't a mirage. It stood in real foundations. Desert cities made green through engineering, not rainfall. Balkh had walls 75 miles around. Merv's irrigation work stretched across 100 miles of desert. These were cities where canals mattered as much as poetry. Engineering preceded philosophy. Hydrology made books and libraries possible. But Central Asia's brilliance was never secure. Its scholars needed patrons, and patrons had moods. Firdusi died waiting for payment for the Shahnameh. Biruni's patron was murdered. A scholar might thrive under one emir and flee under the next. Intellectual life balanced on the temper of courts. It was a Faustian bargain, security in exchange for obedience. And over time, obedience became expectation. There was diversity, rationalists, mystics, skeptics, hadith scholars. But as orthodoxy hardened, so did intolerance. And asking questions just seemed to sow discord. Starr points to al-Ghazali's incoherence of the philosophers as a pivot point. Ghazali didn't exactly ban reason, but he bound it. And suspicion crept in of people who thought differently. Debate dimmed. Silence followed. The Mongol invasions would come later, but the retreat had already begun. Still, this region preserved wonders. Rome forgot how to build domes after Hadrian, it seems. Central Asia remembered. Merv passed the knowledge on west, and Brunelleschi's Duomo in Florence? Maybe not a coincidence. Farabi reconciled Plato and Aristotle, arguing that they aimed at the same truth. Avicenna merged Neoplatonism with Islamic theology. They weren't just Muslim philosophers. They were universal philosophers. They were just philosophers. Too early, too far east. So what happened? The answer is slow erosion. First, institutional fragility. There were no enduring universities, just libraries, patrons, scattered academies. When a ruler fell, ideas fell with him. Biruni and Avicenna moved constantly seeking shelter. No Oxford, no Paris, only uncertainty. Second, the triumph of orthodoxy. After the Mihna, the Inquisition under Al-Ma'mun, the Mu'tazilite rationalists were pushed out. The Quran became uncreated, revelation trumped reason, printing was banned, gunpowder ignored, even optics, pioneered by Ibn al-Haytham, was forgotten in the East, while it transformed art and science in Renaissance Europe. I follow that one closely because Spinoza studied optics. Third, a civilizational allergy to innovation. Not a rejection of ideas, but a refusal to institutionalize them. Central Asia had